Mazuma Boxing back with another video. All right, guys, let's talk about what I've seen in the news lately. Cause you know this boxing shit really been dead, so I had to really like do some research to find something, and I come up with something that was somewhat interesting. All right, let's get into it. All right, so according to ESPN and Dan Rayfield, whatever the fuck his name is, shout out to him, even though he be doing too much a little bit sometimes on Twitter talking hella shit about fighters, but that's neither here nor there. But in his report, he's talking about how Bob Arum reportedly lost $100,000 for that fight between Crawford and Postol. You see Bob Arum on the thing right there, on the podium right there, talking about the fight, promoting it at the time. And let me get into some quotes that he has said. Um, Arum told ESPN.com that the fight generated between 50,000 to 60,000 buys. Now, because this wasn't such like a lucrative fight, and that neither of these guys were pay-per-view stars, that was expected to happen. So I'm not really surprised about that. And yeah, let's continue. He says the fight generated between 50,000 and 60,000 buys on HBO pay-per-view, but a stronger than expected gate helped offset losses, which is he said amounted to be $100,000. Now, he's pretty much saying that the gate, the people that actually paid for the tickets and all the other sales that were included while the fans were there, is what saved uh, Bob Arum so much money, because you know, he would have lost so much more if people decided not to show up. But real boxer fans are going to show up to real fights, and this was actually a real fight. Do I think it was pay-per-view worthy? I mean, if those guys were actually famous and they actually were able to promote themselves in the right way, and if they would have promoted themselves like a lot better than what they are right now, then yeah, it could have been a pay-per-view fight. It could have been a really good fight for people to watch. But because these guys have very little marketing skills, in my opinion, uh, and they rather let their hands do the talking, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that when they just let their hands do the talking, and they don't bring no personality to the game, a lot of casuals aren't gonna pay attention to you, and that's who brings the money in. That's who brings in the money for real. Like if you watch the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, do you actually think that everybody who tuned into that fight were hardcore fans? Hell no. Casuals every fucking where. You could tell there were people that don't even watch fucking boxing. They were like, yeah, we had to see this fight, and there's like fucking hockey fans around where I work, and they're over here talking about, yeah, we gotta go watch that fight. Like everybody tuned into that fight, and they were casuals. So casuals are the ones who actually bring the money in, not the boxing fans. Because unfortunately, there aren't like boxing doesn't have that many fans as to where they could sell a million pay-per-view buys, and they'll be all hardcore boxing fans. Like that would be really rare to see. But let's continue. He said, and I was wondering why this was on pay per view, but Bob Arum had helped me answer this question as well. He said that he preferred for the fight to be on HBO, but that network did not have the money in its budget to buy the fight, forcing it to pay per view. So because HBO is going through a pretty tough financial situation right now, um, they didn't have enough money for, and this isn't even that big of a fight. So, well, I mean, it's a unification fight. It's a pretty big deal, but neither of these fighters are like um, 8-figure fighters. Like none of these guys are really making 10 million plus. They're probably making like between 1 and 2, maybe even 3 if they're lucky, because I don't know. These guys just aren't that. I doubt 3. So it's in between 1.5, 2 million. Postol probably getting like 1 million or whatever. And HBO wasn't able to buy this fight, so it says a lot about how financially unstable they are right now, and That's why they forced it to the pay-per-view. And that's really unfortunate, especially when they dropped this Pacquiao fight recently. So this is probably why Bob Arum is trying to have set up a meeting with Showtime and see if he could get his fighters on there, because he's seeing that HBO's collapsing. And it's very unfortunate to see, because I love watching HBO. Uh, I love watching 24/7s. I just like the commentary on HBO, although they tend to be biased. It's just sad to see this. See this. Um, it's hard to see HBO fall apart, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's just a real unfortunate situation. And Bob Arum is just trying to be positive, which is a pretty good thing. He says that let's see. He says, certainly if we had a rights fee, that would have been the way to go. But if I had looked for the rights fees, I'd still be waiting for a phone call. So he's saying that if he would have been waiting for that rights fee, then that probably would have either took a while or would have never had happened. And then he said, look, I got the fight on. It was an important fight for Terrence's career, which I completely agree with. It was the biggest win of his career, becoming the unified champion at 140 pounds. And he looked great, which I agree with as well. He outboxed Postol and dominated the entire fight. And Oscar Valdez won his featherweight title on the card, so it was worth it. So Terrence Crawford had became the unified world champion in that fight, 140-pound champion in that fight, and Oscar Valdez became world champion in the featherweight division. Um, so he says that it was worth it, and I absolutely agree. As like a as a owner of a promotional company, you gotta have champions under your belt to keep your business going. That's what it's all about, basically, getting champions and making as much money as you can off of them. And he said, I probably lost around 100,000. The gate really surprised us. We were projected to be much lower, but it did almost 750,000. And that really helped us on a fight like this. Damn, that's sad to hear. I mean, I personally don't really like Bob Arum, but it's just sad to watch like a good fight like Crawford and Postol get put on pay-per-view, because somebody that Bob Arum had been loyal to for years, all of a sudden can't afford to give him, like, put money into the fight, invest into the fight, so he has to move on to other things to get what he needs. Just a very unfortunate situation. I hope that Bob Arum is able to build up Terrence Crawford so he'll be able to sell pay-per-views, and I just hope that things like that, because this is a hit. This is like a hit to boxing. Like, it's unfortunate that we're losing money, and the UFC is over here making millions on top of millions, selling a million pay-per-view buys, and all the motherfuckers on that other side are losing. So it's just unfortunate, like I said. But let me know what you guys think about this situation. What do you think about Top Rank in general? And what do you think about Bob Arum trying to go to Showtime to bring his fighters over there? That's about it. This is Mazuma Boxing, and we out here.